dealing with a falsehood, you're faced with two options. You can accept it or you can reject it. The basis upon which we take one of these actions is a product of our critical thinking capabilities and a desire to know what is true instead of confirming our bias. A lie can travel halfway around the world while the truth is still putting on its shoes. On Brainstorm, we choose the hard truths over the comforting lies. Reason, compassion, skepticism. This is the Brainstorm Podcast.
All right. To those listening live and to our patrons, welcome back. For those listening weekly, welcome to the Shift to Reason Radio, the Brainstorm production, where we take current events and important skeptical topics and we try to analyze them critically. I'm Cory, and my panel tonight are Sarah.
Hello.
Rene.
Hello.
And the always amazing Dave.
Hey.
We're broadcasting live from Roman Empire Studios in Regina, Saskatchewan, and today is November 9th, 2018. I guess we might as well just jump right into the What the Fuck segment.
Fucking what the fucking fuck? Who the fuck? Fuck this fucking. How did you do fucking fucks? Fuck!
Well, it certainly illustrates the diversity of the word.
All right, Rene.
And that kind of sums up how I felt when I saw this.
Yeah.
I had a relative of mine post this on Facebook where...
That's always a good sign.
Well, yeah, exactly, right? Let's start with that. Anyway, the post that she sent was, first off, I'm getting to the point where if part of a person's profile pic is like, a flag, I get suspicious. American flag. In this case, is a British flag. I get suspicious. But anyway, so shows a picture of a Campbell's soup can with a label stamped that a halal certification. And what he says is, this is from a tin of tomato soup made here in Canada by Campbell's, halal certified. The term halal means permissible in Arabic and refers to all areas of life governed by Islamic laws. Why are Islamic laws allowed in Canada? We'll never eat Campbell's soup again. And then my relative is like, check mine too. Holy shit, I'm speechless. I will never buy another can of Campbell's soup. Trust me when I say this, that it's a staple in our house, but this has gone too far. Replacements, right? And so they're shitting themselves because it has a halal stamp on it.
Right.
And my first reaction was, all it is marketing.
Yeah,
that's all it is.
That's right.
That's all it is. And then, so I did a quick Google search. And yes, Muslims are a growing population in Canada, and they are the second largest religious group in Canada.
Right.
So to have a stamp of halal is just marketing.
It's just we sell to Muslims as well as anybody
Everyone
else.
But isn't that really what their problem is? Is that people are now catering to religions other than their own?
No, I think it's more along the lines of because it's halal, they go, Sharia law, oh my God,
Well,
Sharia law.
I read some of the comments were that in order to get halal certified, you had to pay money to what, and I wasn't able to find out if that was true or not.
That was one thing I read too that
every
got lost.
sale goes to whatever, which might help support terrorists and stuff. It's it felt a little conspiracy theory.
Yeah, and that's
but
the thing
I didn't see anything to prove or disprove.
I couldn't see any of that either. I snapped a screenshot of it too, where they're talking about how they showed the list of all the the Islamic Council and who's all a part of it, and they said that they had that to get the certification, which was from the same Tom whatever guy. He said that they have to pay a tax to the Islamic Council to get halal certified. And then that goes back to fund Islamic terrorism and whatever else. And I'm like,
did they?
And my instinct is to say, that's bullshit.
Well, I wonder if actually, so what does halal mean?
It just means means permissible. So it's like, I mean, kosher is, you know, it has to be made a certain way and doesn't have certain ingredients. So of course tomato soup is going to be fine because there's no pork products in it or alcohol. Like I think they can't have alcohol on site, and like most plants
wouldn't have you drinking at work.
Or if you're manufacturing tomato soup, you can't also be manufacturing alcohol or whatever in order to get the halal
certification, which I'm pretty sure.
So as long as they just follow these guidelines, they can get this certification. And it's like, so is there a governing body that decides this?
My understanding, and like I said,
it probably varies country to country.
It probably varies by country to country. But what I saw in Canada, and I'll admit I didn't read too far. It didn't go down the rabbit hole too far. I didn't read it too in depth. But basically, it's like everything else. At the very base level, they have to follow food, health, safety
FDA rules or whatever Canada
rules are.
Yeah.
And
we don't even know what it's called.
CFIA.
Oh, there we go.
Food inspection.
Here we go.
And inspect our labs.
And for the most part, the soups aren't going to be anything. I mean, my relative here, they're farmers, they're ranchers, whatever. And so they brought up the fact that part of the problem is the halal butchering. And he brought up the fact that that some of the videos you could find on halal butchering it
looks pretty brutal.
Pretty brutal. But when I did my brief research, and like I said, it was pretty brief, I'll cop to that one. But what it seems to be is that's also a case of that depends on interpretation and size of the operation.
Yeah. Just like any like chicken plant, it's like you see those horror stories where they're just like climbing on top of each other, and then you see one that's like, that's not actually how it's supposed to. That's one bad farm.
And where the horrific part of it is that and I did find one of the rules for the halal is that before butchering, red meat is not allowed to be stunned under halal, but poultry is. Whereas in Canada, the rule said that all animals are stunned, regardless.
Right.
So
they've compromised on their strict, religious-based things.
Which is probably, it depends on also, it's like
animal cruelty standards.
Your basic small halal butchery maybe doesn't follow those rules.
Right, yeah.
And, depends on, and I don't know if they'll be inspected, those kind of things.
Yeah, and not every farmer, like if they're going to kill one of their own cows, is going to do a butchering process based on because you wouldn't even know what that is, right?
Yeah.
You just, I'm going to shoot it. And whatever you're going to do, right? But
Yeah, but it to me, as far as I could tell from her comments and some of the other comments and, going down the rabbit hole of comment section it's that thing of, Islamics. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I will never buy Campbell's.
They're taking over. And that's what I mean is that the real outrage is just that some other religion is now being catered to beyond your own, and that's why you're really upset about it.
That's the thing. And
you're saying it's
literal
it's
Islamophobia.
You're saying it's going to fund terrorism.
It's going to fund terrorism.
Yeah, is that why you're that's not your knee jerk? Why you're upset? That's the reason you're claiming you're upset now after you read some comment section stuff.
Yeah,
right?
and
and you're just like, I don't want to eat their food. Eating this the whole because it's the same fucking soup. Like they didn't make it with Muslims. Like there's no Muslims in your soup. Like you're fine.
For the most part,
you won't turn into a Muslim because you eat this soup.
No. And honestly, and I've talked to some people behind the scenes is. For the most part, the only difference between halal and not halal is someone that's able to do it, blesses it.
Right.
That's all that makes the difference.
Yeah.
Everything else is exactly the same. It's just he said the magic words, and now it's permissible.
Like, this is what makes holy water holy water, is that a priest just said, this is holy water. Whatever.
I mean,
ta-da!
Magic. As is most things.
Yeah, it was just something that I just read it and went, smack my head. And then when I was doing some Googling, my Google foo, a lot of stories popped up about U.S. people, conservatives losing their mind over Campbell's soup.
Of course.
In Australia too, yeah.
And all over the place. And all the stories were dated was 2010. So this is just,
making the rounds again.
So it's just something that's flared up again.
So your family member's just like way behind the times, and like jumping on a bandwagon. That's 3 towns over by now. Okay.
And then there's something else said in here that I was just like, oh my God. What annoys and scares me about this is that none of the North American religions are in cahoots with our food companies. Last I heard, none of them were supporting terrorist groups, especially the Jewish people who eat kosher foods. And I'm like,
fuck off. Jesus Christ.
The Catholics are too busy diddling children to get involved in your food. That's the only reason they're not involved.
First off, North American religions, are we talking Mormons and Scientologists? That's the only ones that are truly North American religions. Second of all, the Ku Klux Klan, maybe they're not involved in the food, but they're Christian in a terrorist group.
There's certainly issues with them.
Yes.
It's
just, and the thing is you can probably find, and there are stuff out there that's stamped kosher.
Yeah.
I've got fucking kosher salt at work. But it's another case of it's not as visible because the Jewish community, I mean, I'm sure if we went to Montreal, it'd be fucking everywhere because it's a huge Jewish community.
Yeah.
Right.
Whereas,
but even I bet you any money if there was a kosher stamp on the, like, people wouldn't be as outraged because like Jews are now okay, right? Because they're like
for the moment
former Jesus was a Jew, so they're okay with it.
I don't know. Like people at Charlottesville might.
I'm talking like here. Like I've never seen much anti. We've got a lot of anti other groups, but I've never seen much either because there isn't a huge Jewish population here, or we just got our hate on for other things.
Yeah,
right. But it's like I bet you any money if your average Saskatchewan person sees a kosher stamp on their can of soup, they're not giving a shit. And they're not posting on social media how the Jews are taking over our country. Right?
Like, I mean, it's just
in the States. They don't like Jews.
Yeah. And like, I mean, I think this is just a case of she saw that and reacted. And, like, I mean, whatever. But it's just something that this
as your average person is wont to do when they see something that scares them on the internet.
Yeah.
And it was just something I saw and just went, oh my God, really?
That was a face palm. You can't see that.
You might have heard the thunk. But it was like, it's just something I just saw and it's like, okay, I don't think any of us here are huge fans of Islam. I'm sure we'd argue about it.
No, and if it is something they have to pay for and it's funding a church, I'm not a big fan of funding any churches or mosques, but I'm also not going to necessarily not buy soup just because it has that stamp either. Like, I don't care that much. I'm not. But that's not the cross I'm willing to die on. But
reality is across the world, there's 1.2 billion Muslims.
Yeah.
Some of them are assholes, but they're not all out to get us.
Yeah.
Like this thing of they're doing this for the Muslims. Ban Campbell's soup.
That means they're going to take over our world and Sharia law. Yeah.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
I mean, here in Regina, apparently they've sold the pump to make a mosque.
Yeah.
Oh boy, there's some outrage over that.
You know what? To me, I was a little, fuck. Not because it's going to be a mosque, but because we don't need another fucking church in the city.
Exactly. It was like, I'd much rather that be a community center or a library or something. But if it was going to be a Catholic church or a mosque or a synagogue, it's all the same shit to me. So.
And I've made some off-color jokes about it.
Yes, I weighed in. Because again, you can't stay away from comment sections no matter how much you tell yourself.
I actually did on this one. Like, I saw some comments and I was like, you know what? No.
See, I started a running joke where it's like, what happens if you build a supposed holy place on top of unsanctified grounds? You're going to get some really weird stuff going on. So I just started a bunch of jokes about they're going to have like, it's going to be like the ghost of the pump haunting this mosque. It's going to be like bad karaoke coming out of nowhere. There's going to be, spectral Axe body spray all over the place.
Just like a waft of stale beer cloud goes through.
They'll start the call to prayer and it'll just turn into Redneck Girl.
compulsively two-stepping. They can't even, like, stop themselves.
It turned into a scuzzy rap bar here in its later life.
Oh, really?
So there will be
there will be some of that too.
There's going to be
bar
some.
Days are
actually, this is a terrible joke. I'm not even going to say it. I'm done.
Okay. All right.
It's a little self-censoring over there.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Well, let's. I guess are we done with the what the fuck?
Yeah, it's just a case of what the fuck. It's like it's just a stamp. It's marketing. Next.
Calm the fuck down.
All right, Dave. Let's do some woo.
I'm not a scientist, but if I can tell you your science sucks, then your science really sucks.
That just makes no fucking sense. I mean, it's just bullshit. Fuck.
All right. So actually, this is Dave's turn.
Yeah, and this could be under what the fuck too.
Yeah, right.
It falls in both, eh?
Well, this is pretty low hanging fruit, I'll be honest. But
that's fine.
But in the tradition of Rene jumping down a rabbit hole, I found this story in the New York Post about a woman who had sex with 20 ghosts. And
how does that even work?
And she is now engaged to a spirit. Yeah,
I think it's called masturbation.
Well, I was really hoping that.
And it's just like maybe you're not comfortable saying that you masturbate, so you pretend that there's someone else there.
I was just really hoping that
masturbation.
Can you get ghosted by a ghost?
Probably.
Technically,
I think she's broken up with multiple.
Technically, you're always ghosted by a ghost. But anyway, no, you know what? I'm actually disappointed that she didn't describe how she has sex with these ghosts.
Yeah, 100%. This is so clickbaity.
I was generally curious about that. Genuinely, I mean. Anyway, so actually, it's funny. The opening line is hopefully she doesn't get ghosted. But a British woman who claimed she has slept with at least 20 ghosts says she's now engaged to a poltergeist. So, so apparently she cheated on her fiance with a ghost. And has since gone on to have
her person fiance, like her
real fiance.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, not the current poltergeist fiance.
and she has since gone on to have supernatural affairs with at least 20 paranormal beings.
Wow.
Yeah, so I guess she started having sex with ghosts. Again, we don't know how specifically. Apparently, when she was in Australia, she met the love of her life, who was also a ghost. And now she's engaged to this ghost, and she's going to have a wedding.
How does that work?
I don't know.
I think it's like a form of mental illness.
It could be.
And then like at the bottom of that article, and it maybe just was more of those clickbaity things, but I've seen, because I think I watched like that Strange Addiction show, because I can't turn away from terrible TV. Yeah, I just can't. But like there's this woman that believes she's married to a train station. Like she loves it. There was a guy that was like in love with his car.
That one was amazing.
Yeah, and you know what? That really actually opened my eyes, because they all go for counseling as part of the show, right?
Right.
And the counselor says like, hey, well, like describe to me how you feel. And it's like, I just love the way she looks and the curves and of her body. And
the way he touched the car was amazing.
Oh yeah, like super like creepy. But at the same time, I'm not one to kink shame. And the counselor said something really. She's like, well, like you're not hurting anybody, and as long as you're not cutting yourself off from having meaningful relationships and friendships, I guess go for it. Like, as long as you're otherwise mentally sound. But like, yeah, the train station woman is like, I think she would like drive or take the bus or possibly the train for like an hour to get there, and that's like, it's a public building that she's making out with, and there's a very fine line between what's just a weird kink that nobody understands and what's like you have a delusional or mental illness that makes you think that this is real. Like the ghost thing, she obviously has to be delusional enough to believe in ghosts and that they're talking to her, but just being sexually attracted to an object isn't necessarily harmful or a mental illness. Like people thought being gay was a mental illness because it was so unnatural, right? To be attracted to somebody of the same sex. Yeah. So how far do you go in saying that this is okay or not okay? It's weird, 100%. But if she wants to masturbate and think that she's having sex with a ghost, is that bad? I don't know, right? It's weird. And again, this one is a little tougher because there's obviously the delusion of she believes the one spoke to her, and that's how she know it's real, right? And it's like, that gets a little tough. Like the guy with the car wasn't having
right.
He acknowledges that it is an object and doesn't love him back and speaks to him, right? So yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, no. So I mean, I definitely had the thought that I don't want to kink shame anybody.
Yeah.
Right.
It's still humorous, but I find human behavior funny,
fascinatingly hilarious. Ways. Yeah.
But anyways, yeah. So anyway, she had an affair with 20 paranormal beings, as we talked about. Now she's found the one. She's found the one. She's been with the same paranormal being for 6 months. Now, the best part of this, I don't
think you should get married after just 6 months.
Well, yeah, it's a little. It's not long enough to tell if they're the one.
But when you know, you know. You know.
But so she said that this is my favorite part. The couple already had sex on the plane back from Australia when they first met. She said, "I was happy and excited, so excited that we had to do something about it." She said. So we headed to the plane loo, and well, I am now a member of the Mile High Club. so I'm just picturing that.
That's called masturbating.
Well, yeah, you know. So she decided to go masturbate in the airplane.
I think you could get in trouble for that.
Everything's legal as long as you don't get caught.
Yeah,
that's true.
Would a girl get caught on that, or is it only if you're a guy?
I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, like there is a double standard there, I think.
I wonder how many people have actually been charged with something like that, though. Like is that? It's not really indecent exposure or anything.
Well, if it's behind a locked door,
yeah, you're
like
in private quarters.
Alone, man. Like, yeah, if you take a shit on the street, that's indecent exposure. Is maybe littering as well. But if you do it in a bathroom, it's fine.
Well, somebody I was on a plane with once took a dump in the plane, like in the aisle.
Oh no!
So and somebody stepped in it. It was it was rather interesting.
Oh,
but anyway, that person was my brother who stepped in it. Anyway,
is it better that he's the one that stepped in it, or would it have been better if he was the one that shit?
But it was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. It was on a plane back from, I think we were coming from Sao Paulo. But anyway,
and the family's like supportive of this, and like they're gonna have a big wedding. And
she's gonna have a wedding, and she got friends who are supportive. And you know what? Like again, I think you brought up a good point that there's like some level of acceptability for people's weird quirks like this when it's not necessarily harmful, or it's not necessarily like extreme mental health problems, like you know the harmfulness of it, right? Like I guess to compare this to, we talked about the strange addictions thing. I saw one episode where this guy was a feeder, and what that means is he basically,
a bizarre one,
How have I not seen this episode?
He feeds his partner, so she keeps getting fatter and fatter, and the fatter she gets, the more turned on he gets.
Yeah.
And he dreams about her roles and all this. And their goal was to get her to a ton. That was their goal. And
I've seen that kind of thing on my 600-pound life too.
You see that is that I'm gonna leave you, because it's always some like skinny white dude, and he's like not into it if she loses the weight.
Yeah, exactly.
So
like I feel like on one hand I can respect somebody's autonomy, and I think they have a right to harm themselves if they feel like it.
Yeah.
Right.
In some ways. But on the other side of it, I also kind of debate in my head, like at what point are we supposed to intervene, or should we intervene?
Because is she willingly getting fat because she wants to, or because she wants this man's love and affection?
Yeah.
And is it kind of a manipulative?
Is it manipulative?
Like,
and ultimately,
kind of relationship
if we know somebody's going towards death, should we intervene? Yeah. Like that's the other question too. Like, I mean, if somebody's going to commit suicide, or we think they're going to commit suicide, I'm legally bound.
Exactly.
Like as a social worker to report that, right?
But you don't like pull cigarettes out of people's mouths.
No.
Right? Like, it's the quickness of the death they're causing themselves.
It's a weird fine line.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So anyways, so comparing that to this, like, is masturbating and thinking there's ghosts there with you while you masturbate really that bad? Well,
no.
It's
delusional
strange.
part of it to me is where it maybe crosses that line.
But I'm not going to like, I don't know. I mean, I guess I'll let that person do that or whatever. If people have an imaginary friend named Jesus, and I'm not going to force them not to have an imaginary friend named Jesus.
Yeah, there's lots of those.
So, right. So, I mean, it's really not all that worse.
Is there some kind of legal status where she can actually marry this ghost? Like, what does she think she's accomplishing?
A ceremony.
She's in love.
A commitment ceremony.
She's in love and she's having
meaningful to them as a couple.
All right.
You know.
I will also mention she's a spiritual counselor. So
naturally.
Naturally. Sorry, I just had this last part of this article is like the best. So she says, sometimes I get the feeling that I'm being moved. Orgasms I have with my spirit lovers have been way more satisfying than any I've had with ordinary men. So I'm just going to say,
it's not terribly surprising.
So usually,
here's my psychology.
More effective when masturbating.
Here's my psychological observation is that men have completely failed her with orgasms over the years. Yeah. So she's been so turned off by men that she went to ghosts. Like that's so there we go. That's
I'm kind of, and maybe I'm an asshole, but I'm thinking it'd be hilarious to be sitting there with that guy he broke up with, his counselor.
Yeah,
man, I just needed
for a ghost.
I got dumped. She was my fiance. She dumped me for a ghost.
Then she went on TV and said that I was bad in bed.
I never satisfied her.
It's like it'd be one thing if she just found him more attractive, but no, she straight up said I didn't satisfy her enough.
That's right.
Well, it reminds me of that, like the George Costanza episode in Seinfeld where he finds out that Susan's a lesbian. And he's like, was her experience with me so bad? she called off men forever. He's like, I have to know. He's like, it's just like, yeah. Anyways, so low hanging fruit,
but still good.
Interesting article. It's but Def disappointed we didn't get to learn how she has sex with him.
I'm sure if you went down the Google rabbit hole, you could find.
We probably could.
Oh, because as if she's the only one that has sex
eventually,
with
if you put that into a Google search, you're going to end up in ghost porn. You know it's going to happen.
Yeah, but I mean, you have to be willing to accept that.
Rule 34.
If you truly are curious, you have to be prepared. Yeah, and I guarantee you,
Rule 34.
She's not the only one. If there are people that get sexually turned on by like balloons, she's not the only one that's fucking ghosts. 100%.
100%.
I will bet cold hard cash.
That would be a silly bet. There's probably others.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
definitely. All right, I'm going to take do my story here from KTLA.com. Mystery object that sped past Earth last year could be a probe sent by aliens, according to Harvard researchers.
Is that the same one that looks like a giant turd in space?
Yes.
Okay.
Or they prefer cigar.
Okay.
So I'm going to read the first bit of this article. It says, a mysterious cigar-shaped object spotted tumbling through our solar system last year may have been an alien spacecraft sent to investigate Earth, astronomers from Harvard University have suggested. The object, named Oumuamua, meaning a messenger that reaches out from the distant past in Hawaiian, was first discovered in October 2017 by the Panoramic Survey Telescope and Rapid Response System 1 in Hawaii. Since its discovery, scientists have been at odds to explain its unusual features and precise origins, with researchers first calling it a comet and then an asteroid, before finally deeming it the first of its kind, a new class of interstellar object. Now, a new paper by researchers at the Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics raises the possibility that an elongated dark red object, which is 10 times as long as it is wide, and traveling at speeds of 196,000 miles per hour might have an artificial origin. So it is interstellar. That based on the trajectory, they can say that. Some of the speculation around the object is because of the speed that it's leaving our atmosphere or our solar system.
Yeah.
So it apparently can't be explained by gravity alone, and is something must be pushing it, they say.
Yeah.
So according to what I've read, this can be explained by outgassing, which is when materials heat up and then it expels those gases and it pushes
like a rocket. Yeah. I thought they said that wasn't the case though, because it doesn't have the aura that you would normally have if you had gases around it or something.
That's one of the. They usually have a trail or whatever, and this doesn't have a trail, so that's outgassing is. But Oumuamua was discovered after its closest approach to the sun when it was on its way out, 40 days after it was had come closest to the sun, and then it was already on the way out. So it should have been slowing down instead of speeding up. But again, outgassing is the most common hypothesis about this. And they say that because it doesn't have enough, it might be an asteroid with just a little bit of ice, or it might be a comet that had used up most of its ice or whatever. So they're giving it a classification somewhere in between a comet and an asteroid in general, right? Not these particular guys, but this is where, and it's a cigar shaped and it's tumbling end over end. So it's not shooting straight.
Right. Yeah.
It's, this is where Shmuel Bialy and Abraham Loeb come in with their alien concept. They don't like the outgassing effect, and they offer a solar sail effect as the reason for Oumuamua's speed. Their main argument is, if Oumuamua were in fact a comet, why then did it not experience outgassing when it was closest to our sun? In addition, they cite other research that showed that if outgassing were responsible for the acceleration, it would have also caused a rapid evolution in Oumuamua's spin, which was not observed. They also said, we explain the excess acceleration of Oumuamua away from the sun as the result of the force that the sunlight exerts on its surface. For this force to explain measured excess acceleration, the object needs to be extremely thin, of order of a fraction of a millimeter in thickness, but tens of meters in size. This makes the object lightweight for its surface area to allows it to act as a light sail. Its origin could either be natural in the interstellar medium or protoplanetary disks, or artificial as a probe sent for a reconnaissance mission into the inner region of the solar system. So this means that if Oumuamua is extremely thin and long, with enough surface for the winds to have pushed it, solar winds to have pushed it, rather than it experiencing outgassing. They have, like I said before, their two explanations are, it could be naturally this thin, or it could be an alien probe.
Yeah. But at least they're giving the both.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think part of that probably is, anything, we're so wanting to find extraterrestrial any signs of life other than on our planet, that if you want to get your paper read, just have that as one of your alternative hypotheses. Even
right.
they may not even actually subscribe to that being totally legit. They're just saying, or hey, it theoretically could be.
They're almost definitely going to get some sort of publicity if they say it could be aliens.
Yeah, exactly.
I would love if a first contact was this mundane, though, because
a piece of poop floating by the sun.
Seriously, though, it's because in every movie, it's this grand event and stuff.
Right.
And it's just no, it's just this weird poop-shaped thing in space.
I got a couple points. I looked up a couple skeptical blogs on this, and the next couple points are from Steve Novella's article on Neurological blog, and he said, in their paper, they calculate that such an object could survive interstellar space. This makes the solar sail hypothesis at least plausible. But actually, their most interesting argument is the fact that Oumuamua came within 0.25 AU of the sun and 0.15 AU of the Earth. If this were random, they calculate that stellar systems on average would have to eject 10 to the power of 15 such objects, which is 100 million times more than projected. That would mean that our chance encounter with Oumuamua was a 1 in 100 million chance, and that's like winning the interstellar lottery. So that reinforces the idea that it might be alien rather than random. But further, we did not detect Oumuamua until it had already passed the sun. It was a lucky find, and we could have missed it. This means we could be missing much more such objects. Yeah. Bialy and Loeb solved the interstellar lottery problem by arguing that Oumuamua might be an alien probe, so it was targeted at us deliberately. perhaps to survey the Earth for signs of life. Just throw that in there.
They're watching us.
Just to see if they're checking us out. Okay, so to me, this bit seems like a stretch of logic. Sure, it could be aliens, but there's also other potential explanations.
But let's all just pretend it's aliens so we can feel like cool things are happening and not just
that's right.
shit that's happening on Earth.
The outgassing hypothesis needs to be rejected for it to be a solar sail. And then the solar sail has to be added to the fact that we won the interstellar lottery. I mean, which is possible. And all of that has to be rejected in order for it to be aliens. Astronomers pointed radio telescopes at Oumuamua and found that there wasn't any radio signals, though. So, but Bialy and Loeb argue that was perhaps because it's defunct and more of a shipwreck than an active probe, which sounds like a bit of special pleading. It is possible that Oumuamua is from some alien civilization who has tech beyond what we may grasp, but there simply isn't enough evidence to support acceptance of this as the main explanation for its appearance. When accepting that explanation would require rejecting other equally plausible hypotheses. So that was, it was really neat to read about aliens possibly. And even skeptics are like, well, we don't know.
Maybe. I think there's just always that part of you that just wants it so bad to be real that you're not going to be like, that's total bullshit. You're like, well, maybe. It's probably not. It's probably this other thing. But hey, maybe.
Argumentatively, there's alien life out there. But
and that's just it. It's like that's a totally plausible thing. Like it's just so vast, right? Yeah. That it'd be naive to think we're the only fancy things other than like rocks and minerals, right? But we haven't seen it yet. We don't have evidence for it yet, other than just the vastness of the universe to suggest that it's fun. We don't have the astrophysicist on tonight.
It's too bad.
She really should be weighing in on this.
For real, right? Yeah.
She would know more about how, like, these things, how plausible all this is, and
because it's like, does that mean it's not a comet if there's no trail, or is that not every single one has a trail, so it's just one of those ones that doesn't, and they're totally grasping at straws. Is it true? It might not be. It might be a different type of object that hasn't been seen. It doesn't mean that just because it's not one we've caught. We still find new species of insect on our own planet, right? So you can't just be like, oh, it can't be a spider because we haven't seen it before. It could still be a spider, just one we haven't found. So it could be a type of comet or type of
our lack of knowledge about it doesn't make it alien, right?
Yeah, exactly. But again, let's all pretend that maybe it is.
Let's all pretend this might be an alien. All right. And all right, Sarah, it's your turn.
Okay, which one is this? Again, more ghost stuff. So this is, I guess, in Regina. I guess we have ghost hunters here, and they were going to, what is this, like the old Sears outlet store? I don't know where that is. I'm not
it's
Sears.
It's on Broad Street.
Oh, like the Sears Bargain Center that shut down. Oh, I see. Yeah, so I guess they think it's haunted, and they went in, and the stuff I want so badly to believe in ghosts from when I was younger. And my imaginary friend was actually the wind. I was at least, didn't have an imaginary person. I just personified the wind.
Well, there you go.
Because it was at least something you could interact with.
Right.
So it's like, I think he was a ghost or something, and he just turned into the wind. I don't know. I don't remember. I was a child. But I think people can get sucked into this so much because they'll have quote unquote evidence, because like the radio station was throwing some static, or they thought they heard voices, and like you want so badly to believe it that you find little things, and they have all this like tech stuff, so it makes it seem more science, like they're measuring and observing things, right? So it seems very they've got
the thermal
EMF readers,
and
EMF
like radio things, and all kinds of
what's that? What do they call that when they listen to white noise on the radio and then they make out messages in it? Like
that's called something?
Yeah, there's a
I
name
know what you're
for
talking
it.
about, but I can't remember what it's called.
Listening to static and inferring voices where none
just
exist.
imagining
there was
things
a fucking
there.
movie. There was a fucking movie made about
with Michael
that.
Keaton.
Yeah.
It's old now, though.
Oh, okay. I'm woefully unaware of these things. But yeah, they have cameras that record spectrums of light that the human eye can't see. And like, that's a thing, right? We have infrared cameras and we have, all that
and
kind of stuff.
They're looking
right?
for cold spots because that designates where the spirit was.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, they can so easily twist a lot of observable phenomena to fit a ghost. But the thing I don't understand, like, they're saying that the one elevator shaft is haunted because somebody committed suicide in it. Now, I don't understand if you're a supernatural being and you're no longer bound by the physical realm, why you choose to hang around where you died. Like, I would be going to Hawaii.
Rules.
Right, but like,
the
why?
explanation of that is because of the trauma, which doesn't allow you to cross over. That's the explanation.
Okay, but like, I'm a ghost. I can fucking do what I want, and I want to go on like a beach vacation.
But because of the rules, you're attached to the place where you died.
The rules.
Because of the rules.
I don't know who made up these rules.
Because reasons. Yeah, so
because if you died a happy camper, then you were just able to cross over. But because the trauma of you committing suicide,
or being murdered or whatever,
then you're stuck wherever that.
Clearly, you've all watched The Ghost Whisperer.
I watch a lot of Supernatural.
Like, how shitty is that? That like you can, but like they can walk through walls and stuff because they can come
bring in
into
the rules of the anger ghost. There you go.
Like you can come into because the one room, I guess that was an office, and they were pouring alcohol for the one spirit because supposedly he was really into booze, and that's where they played cards and drank. So that's what they did, and yeah, essentially. So you pour booze, but again, like the spirit can't drink that.
It's pretty inconsiderate to give alcoholic.
When they said
to the alcoholic
they said specifically that he was fond of brandy, but then it goes on to say they poured a clear liquid, which I assume like vodka or something. Like, well, you know he likes brandy. Why aren't you getting the guy brandy? Like, he's never going to talk to you
because they know damn well he's not actually real.
So they go for the cheap. Well, like, but that's what I wonder, right? Do these people truly believe and make all these things? And because you can totally, like, any kind of static or interference and stuff or cold spot, like all that stuff, if you believe that is a sign of ghost, you're going to add that all up and convince yourself quite easily and think that you're backed by evidence because you have quote unquote evidence. But like the one picture they have of like, it looks like a man wearing a hat. I'm like squinting at it. And like, it looks like a blob. Like I do not see a shape of it. And what's that phenomenon where
Pareidolia.
you see, where you see faces, so, but I can't even do that. And I'm looking for it here. Like, is it a magic eye poster where I've got to like relax?
I went through a phase of reading a lot of like ghost hunter shit.
Right.
And it's...
Oh, I totally want to believe in stuff like that. Like, it'd be so fun, right? But I think it's easier to latch onto because it's, there's lots we don't know about, like, energy, like, stuff you can't see, right? Was there. Like, I work with radiation. I know that radiation is coming off of this rock or this sample, but you can't see it. Right, and you can measure
radio waves, Wi-Fi waves,
all that stuff. There's this whole other invisible realm of like quote energy and stuff that you'll attribute to spirits and whatever else. That I think it's real easy to slip into. Out of all the woo out there, I think this is the one that's real easy to get caught up in because they have enough sciencey sounding stuff and enough, little equipment. Like they got all these little gadgets that they've like he's doctored and made himself and wired like it's probably just all interference. Like if Dave could hear the refrigerator upstairs on my mic,
right,
I'm sure where
there's people can hear other things on other things.
Or things are coming through a radio or but I don't know. I don't know whether to feel sorry for people or let them have their fun or the ones that bother me are the mediums that claim to speak to spirits and like that you're preying on people that are hurting and like if you're just going to a haunted house and pretending to see things. Whatever.
I think there's the difference between the ones that are just, I'm talking to your grandmother right now. Like, okay, that's bullshit. But if you're talking to a 100-year-old dead ghost, whatever.
Yeah, that's true. It's like Abe Lincoln is speaking to me now and saying this. But if it's predatory, then I have a problem with it. If it's just generic woo for entertainment's sake, then there's bigger fish to fry.
For sure.
I say I've actually been on a ghost hunt in town years ago.
Yeah.
Right.
Like an official one.
Nice.
And do you remember your proton pack, Dave?
Yeah. Actually, you know what? They had these things called ghost meters. They were literally labeled ghost meters. And they measured electromagnetic activity. I don't know how well they did that, and I also don't think that means anything. But it was interesting.
I'm going to start one and just bring my Geiger counters from work.
Yeah, for real. No, for real though.
Because because there's radiation everywhere, right? Yeah. Like it'll just go off and be like, oh, that was one. Oh, there was one.
But you know what I was upset about is even if nobody believes in this stuff or whatever, like at the very least you can conduct an investigation in like a thorough manner.
Right.
Like you can do that much at least, So anyway, but this one I was on, it was nothing like that. Like there weren't cameras set up. There weren't like splitting people off into certain areas and there was like nothing. There was nothing rigorous about it or methodical. It was just like, let's just walk around this building. And then
don't you get a creepy vibe?
Well, exactly, right? And then this one person who was a medium was like, oh, some children.
Who claims to be a medium.
Exactly. Just to clarify. But they were like, something terrible happened here. There were children and they need to be freed. And that's what's going on here. It's just like, I was just like, ugh, this is not like, and I was just sitting there just so bored the whole time. I'm like, why? Like, you know what? Like for being the skeptic in the group, I was like, at the very least, I was willing to like participate in your investigation. If it was actually an investigation, if it's not, it's nothing. Right. You're just walking around making shit up.
Yeah, that's right.
I thought they were gonna have like infrared
jumping at every noise that comes through.
Well, for real, it's like infrared cameras, recording, like do the recordings, do all that shit.
Like this one seemed at least again a slight on the legit side, like they were doing certain things to try and find some evidence, right? But
at the very least, do that with your woo. Just that much.
At least fake it good.
Fake it well.
At least fake it good.
Anyway,
all right, let's do some science and then Sarah's story.
If you like what we're doing and want to help us keep the lights on, go become a patron at patreon.com/brainstorm podcast. You can hear the bonus half hour that we record every episode and get a shout out when you support the show. Become a patron for just $1 an episode at patreon.com/brainstorm podcast. Or you can support the show by ordering a t-shirt, mug or other gear from our store at caffeepress.ca/brainstorm podcast gear. If you can't afford to become a patron or buy gear, then why not give us a rating or write a review on iTunes or Stitcher? Every rating makes it easier for people to find us. Thanks for your support.
Oh, hey there. I didn't see you. I'm Sarah, the host of the Salty Canadian podcast. If you want a podcast that is full of fun, rants, reviews, and just random stuff, then this is a podcast for you. We can be found on any podcast catcher, and make sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and have a great day.
And
if you base medicine on science, you cure people. If you base the design of planes on science, they fly. If you base the design of rockets on science, they reach the moon. It works, bitches.
Yes, science!
I really feel like we need to incorporate Jesse from Breaking Bad in there. I don't know if Cory knows that, but...
Oh, okay.
Because he says, yes, science, bitch, or something like that. He's like, anyway.
Right, yeah. Good stuff. So this one is interesting. So they're, again, just like animal trials and very small trials too, but the concept is interesting. So if anyone's aware of what T4 phages are, they are viruses that exclusively infect bacteria. And if you just Google image search a phage, they're just like, that's very stereotypical. If you want to talk like alien beings, this is exactly what that looks like. Little head and like a bunch of like docking arms. And essentially what it does is dock onto a bacterium, inject its DNA into it, replicate itself, explode the cell, and carry on, just replicate. That's all it does. But they have engineered this T4 phage with on the protein cap, like the head of it, to have antigens for the bacterium that causes anthrax and one that causes the plague, basically trying to make a vaccine for anthrax and the plague. So by having antigens on the protein capsule of this T4 phage and then introducing it into a body, the body will recognize those antigens and make antibodies to fight it off. And I guess they did this for, was it mice or rats or both? I know they did rabbits. But it was pretty successful. Again, there was, rats. Very few of them, because anytime you're doing animal research, they make you do the least amount of animals as possible, which ends up being less than would be, a good sample size for most of us. So it's catch-22, right? You don't want to just kill off hordes of animals for your research purposes.
Right.
But you also want to have results that you're like, okay, so 5 mice didn't die. Good for you. Is that really, is that significant? But yeah, of 8 mice exposed to both the anthrax and plague, 7 survived and cleared infection within 3 days. And then they tried rabbits, and it was successful in them too. Again, most of them continuing to live. So super interesting. And it says at the end, in the future, this vaccine platform could provide a convenient way of mass vaccination against several pathogens, because all you have to do is slap that antigen onto that protein capsule, and you're good to go, kind of thing. And the theory is that it would have lower side effects because phages don't infect us or do anything to us, right? So there's less stuff there that could theoretically go wrong.
Okay.
And then kind of following on this, if you watch on Netflix, Follow This, is that what it's called?
Yep.
They just yesterday or the day before, I mean, maybe it was out before, but I only watched it after I saw this article, that they are, because phages infect bacteria and basically kill bacteria, they're trying to develop phage libraries that will kill antibiotic resistant,
like superbugs.
Any superbugs, right? Like if no antibiotics are working, then you just send these. So there's this one place that has kind of a library, and these things are everywhere. Like the one guy collects them from sewage and rainwater and the ground and wherever, right? You culture them and grow them, and the one group, you send them your bacterial isolates of whatever it is that you're infected with, and they kind of do a scan, like 96 well plates, see and it's color coded. If it dies, it changes color, or if it lives, it changes color. I don't remember, but they can see, okay, at spot A7, that type of phage killed that bacteria, so let's inject you with a bunch of this type of phage, grow a bunch of it up, inject you with it, see if it works.
Right.
And they showed a story of a guy that was lucky enough to have a scientist as a wife, who he got something and was wasting away, lost 100 pounds, he was in a coma.
Oh, geez.
Basically, there was nothing more they could do for him. And she started researching this, found this company. I think it was the military, actually, the Marines or something.
Through the Navy.
Yeah, through the Navy. That they're doing research on this as a possibility. And they said, could you please do that? I know it's not approved, but he's dead in days if we don't do something. There's nothing that's helping him. And they're like, okay, sure. And had to take it up the chain, obviously, with human ethics and all that. They really don't like doing experimental treatment on people. But I'm a big believer in, if you've got no other choice, that's the perfect time to try that new stuff, because it's so hard to get human ethics.
If you can't make
approval.
it worse.
If you're guaranteed to die anyways, you may, and I don't mean this in as brash a way as it sounds, you make the perfect research subject, because you don't have to worry about killing a healthy person by giving them the drug or treatment that you're giving. You know that person's going to die anyways. The worst that can happen is you save them, and that's actually the best that could happen, right? Like the worst that could happen is you die like you were going to die anyways. It eventually helped after a few infusions, and he's fine. And now they're starting like this whole, campaign or business or nonprofit to bring this more to the mainstream.
I can't remember the acronym, but they have.
Yeah, because legitimately what keeps me up at night and gives me nightmares is like antibiotics. I've been saved by antibiotics so many times. Like if you've ever had a tooth abscess and like feel like your brain is going to explode because of the infection, I would not have survived in any other era of time other than one with antibiotics. So it's like the fact that it
I didn't always have dental coverage, and so I would always have to just deal with it. And at the last minute, I would get, like, when it was just so much I couldn't take it, then I would go get antibiotics and pain pills. And then I would do those till it was gone. And I still could not get the tooth pulled because that costs another $400.
Yeah, you can get antibiotics for relatively cheap if you just go to the clinic, but you can't get the actual tooth fixed. So it'll just keep getting infected. But if you just always take antibiotics, you're contributing to the possibility of antibiotic resistance. Then you're going to have a bigger problem on your hand. But it would... Again, I don't know how feasible it is, but it sounds super promising. And conceptually, just knowing what like all phages do is infect and kill bacteria. Like they're the kind of the perfect ally to use in this fight instead of chemical antibiotics, which bacteria are developing resistance to. Even like hand sanitizer now, which we didn't think you could really become resistant to. Certain strains of bacteria showing signs of not. And not everything, like norovirus isn't killed by ethanol or alcohol anyways, but things that used to be easily killed by that are not as easily killed anymore. So yeah, it keeps me up at night. So that follow this and this article really made me feel a lot better about my future.
Good.
My future in life.
I think we've talked a little bit about antibiotic resistance in the past.
Terrifying.
It's it's like the one thing that like is actually like that is going to kill us. And
like nuclear war. Yeah, that's bad too. But like we can prevent that with social policies and
climate change. If we just acknowledge that it happens,
maybe we can stand that too. But this could like antibiotics resistance could go from 0 to 60 real quick, right? Whereas climate change is still like the impending doom that's still kind of off in the future. And like even when it gets a certain amount of bad, some of us in certain climates will be relatively fine. And, but it's definitely on the horizon. Whereas this could like any day now, they could just all rise up and develop and share those plasmids that have the antibiotic resistance genes on them. At the university, they're actually doing some research collaboratively with one of the microbiologists and one of the chemists. So as if you're doing like organic chemistry or any sort of the kind of chemistry we do, some of our research that I did as well, you just make compounds for the sake of making compounds to be like, yes, we can make this chemical structure via this pathway, but you don't actually do anything with those compounds. They're just like, proof of concept that we can make them. And then they sit in the freezer or we throw them out. So the microbiome researcher is like, what do you guys do with all those like crazy compounds you make? It's like, we just toss them out. He's like, can you just give them to me and I'll test them to see if they'll kill bacteria? And it's like, well, why not? So they started collaborating and they found a compound that was killing stuff. And then part of the chemistry fun is, okay, let's tweak that a little more, see if it kills it better. Let's tweak this another one, see if it kills more things with less of a dose. So like that's kind of the path they're going. So that gave me a little bit of hope too. But as with any chemical agent, you still could develop resistance to. But it was like, at least we have one more, one more iron in the fire of possibility of not all dying a terrible, painful death.
For sure. I see that Dave is chatting in the Discord, but it is your turn, Dave.
Okay. Well, now that you've interrupted me. Jeez, man. having a really good discussion here about mental health. So,
oh yeah, that's awesome.
Because I have a lot of experience with anxiety and depression now, and Anyways, so you want me to talk about marijuana again?
Yeah, we.
Why?
Why do you keep getting these, eh?
I shared this article, I believe, right?
Yes, you did.
Oh shoot! It just closed the article on me. Anyways, this article is about blood tests. Actually, it's a little bit of an older article. But the reason why I was kind of curious about it was because, we had a discussion a little bit about checking for impairment with marijuana, and that's going to be one of the biggest struggles we're going to have with legalization. Because we just don't really have a really effective way to check for impairment. So, not in the immediate, at the very least.
Right.
And so that's kind of what this article is breaking down. It's talking a little bit about, it kind of goes, I guess at first it talks about how marijuana works, how THC goes into your system, and it's fat soluble, whereas alcohol is water soluble.
Yeah, I did not know it was fat soluble until I read that article, so I thank you for that.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting because it goes into your bloodstream and then it goes into your fat, but then it kind of leaks back into your bloodstream for crude explanation of how that works. So I mean, there can definitely be THC levels present, much after the fact of inhalation, like much, much further away. So I can't remember the exact numbers it gives here, but and then there's differences between consuming edibles and inhaling. It seems to be metabolized by your liver if you eat it. That's where it happens. So it's not detected in the same way. There's different levels of detection. Like it's I don't want to go into all the crazy details of this article, but just kind of to sum it up, I guess the big thing is that blood tests are only so effective. Like after you immediately inhale, there is like a period of time where they can, see higher concentrations of THC in your blood.
Okay.
But then following that, there's pretty much then it's negligible. Like at that point, then it's debatable. Like maybe you had this THC 8 hours ago, right? Maybe you had it 1 hour ago. There's like a certain period of time where the levels they detect in your blood are just so difficult to identify, right? Like as to how long ago the consumption was. So that makes it a problem in court. I mean, that's the biggest thing, right?
Right.
Because, like even if I pull somebody over and they have red eyes and they're acting intoxicated and I give them a test, right? If that test isn't concrete enough, I mean, a good lawyer can throw that out.
Well, yeah, and like even the level, like we have 0.08 or whatever for alcohol, but there is no like what is the amount in my body that would consider me impaired, right? Like there's they haven't worked that out, which I think legalization is going to help that because we can actually study it now. And it's not like a Schedule 4 drug and impossible to do. Yeah. Trust me, I know getting the paperwork because I have to do that at work too is a royal pain in the ass. So people it's not worth it. You'll find something else to research. So,
well, Your Honor, he was eating dry cake mix high.
Or he was just really hungry.
Or he was just really hungry. Well, actually, there's Alden shared it also in our group. There's some great videos from, I think it's This Hour Has 22 Minutes of like the Canadian like marijuana road test or something like that. And it's like, like put nachos in front of them or shit like that. And, like again, but like that's funny and stuff. But it also brings up a real serious issue. Like we just don't have a good method.
Right.
And, like I could probably tell you right now if you're high, like I could figure it out. That's fine. But when you're going to court, you can't. Yeah. It can't.
Again, that's where you have
to prove it.
Yeah, innocent until proven guilty, and that was, I think, what law enforcement was really not looking forward to with the whole legalization thing. Is because like, okay, but we don't know what the fuck we're doing. Like, let us figure this shit out. And it was like, man, but it's kind of cart before the horse. It's like once you legalize it, it'll be easier to figure that shit out. But yeah, it would be nice if you knew that shit before it was legalized. But whatever. But I mean, like that counts for like you can be impaired on prescription medication or like sleep deprived at like so many things that. And one of my coworkers is a ex RCMP, and he's like, "There's two things: there's driving under the influence, and there's impaired driving." I can see if you are swerving and you're not alert, you are impaired. It doesn't matter what you're impaired from. So I don't need to prove that you drank alcohol. I just need to prove this is what you did. You swerved, you hit that curb, people reported you, whatever. But so if you're smart, you charge people with that because the burden of proof is just that you were driving in a bad way and you were not able to, like even that, like, you know, walking straight. Like, I don't know if they still do that kind of stuff, but it's like your judgment and motor skills are impaired for whatever reason. You're overtired. You took your pain pills when you shouldn't have. You're high. You're drunk. Whatever.
I mean, it might be interesting. That seems a bit problematic in itself. Like,
100%. You know? But yeah, exactly. You don't have as good as a slap and a blood test on as a court document saying, right, you don't have that quantitative proof. You only have qualitative evidence. But yeah, if it stacks up against you, right, like you got 3 phone calls of somebody on Highway 1 swerving and was in the opposing lane of traffic, and the cop is recording you and you're like just right out of it for whatever reason, right?
There are ways that you could
it's probably not going to work in your favor. If you have a super awesome lawyer and you're willing to pay through the nose to get you off on technicalities, then you'll probably still get off. But your average Joe is still going to get something.
You can definitely get driving with undue care and attention either way. Right?
Yeah, so, that too. You could just also be an asshole, right? And just being like stunting or swerving for fun or just not playing chicken on the highway or so. Yeah, so.
Yeah, that's right.
One important distinction here too to make about this stuff. Again, this is, I don't want to go into too many details because just read the article, but there is actually some precedent here in Colorado, Montana, and Washington where they've had some legalization. Right. So I guess the rule they're using is 5 nanograms per milliliter of blood.
Yeah.
But I guess some of the attorneys are saying that that's actually an amount that can be existent in chronic users at all times.
Okay.
So it really it's not good at identifying anything because those chronic users aren't necessarily impaired while driving. Like you could have smoked in the morning and maybe you're driving 6 hours later or vice versa or whatever.
Yeah,
so it's not. The fact that it can stay in your system that long for a chronic user just complicates everything.
Yeah, that is a problem.
Yeah, right. So I guess some employers are saying too, like prefer to use like saliva tests and hair tests and stuff like that.
And urine and stuff.
Maybe it was urine.
Maybe urine saliva. And hair. Hair will show like chronic use as hair does, and urine I think is more immediate because that will be gone from your system a lot.
Yeah, and
so it won't be in your urine as long as it would be in your blood because it's not leaching from your fat.
And it sounds like you can identify like if you use that week at some point.
Yeah, which again doesn't tell you if you were impaired currently.
It's fine for an employer, but not for a legal case.
But it depends what the purpose of the employer doing the test is too, right?
Right, like if I'm not working on the weekend and you test me on Wednesday, I showed it. It shows I did it in last week, but you can't prove it was when I was at work on Friday or when it was on my own time on Saturday. Right. Yeah. So it's still problematic.
We're going to have lots of problems with that because there are already like law enforcement and certain people saying, our people aren't allowed to smoke on duty or this and that, blah, blah. And it's like, well, how are you ever going to prove this shit? Like at some point there's going to be some court challenge that's going to make employers have to just not do that, right?
Well, there already is like court challenges from unions saying like it's against human rights or whatever to force me to drug test and stuff like that. And I think that's gone through appeals and being in the safety world, we see a lot of it.
Oh yeah,
right? Because if you're in safety sensitive positions, we don't want you in any sort of altered state, whether that be fatigue or drug, alcohol, anything, right? But it's going to be a tough one.
No, it is, and I think things will evolve as they evolve.
Yes,
but the reality is we've always had an impaired driving problem. Anyway,
So Saskatchewan's particularly bad.
For it, so I don't see this. I don't see legalization as increasing it. In fact, I think I think what really the opposite was we need to be really careful with what we're doing to enforce this now because we don't want to uselessly criminalize people. So
no, that's right.
So hopefully they gain some sense as they go here and find better ways and better ideas. But, but whatever. Weeds out there. I mean, I had it in my car today. I got it here. I can just hold it where I want. It doesn't fucking matter.
Right.
It's great.
You just gotta smoke it at your residence.
Yes, I just gotta smoke it in the right place. But I can carry it all I want.
You can't even like outside. Just like
it's weird.
I guess because you can't just be walking around town with open alcohol either. I guess it's the same thing. Yeah.
I know, and I hate that rule too. But I've seen other countries where they allow that, and it's like this just seems normal.
It's like a non-issue.
It's like who cares? Like I don't know.
It's different country, different culture, different way of doing it.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah.
We also are like Saskatchewan is apparently really we're not trustworthy people. We can't drink in public. We can't smoke in public. We can't do we can't have strippers and drink.
Yeah, that's true.
We're not
we haven't progressed past 1958.
We're just not able to control ourselves.
It's true. No, it's true.
Saskatchewan people.
Well, we do. I mean, we have the worst drinking and driving rate in Canada. Yeah, so we do suck in a lot of ways.
We do.
So I can understand that our parents don't want us to go out past curfew.
Well, but that's right.
To an extent, but
we do keep breaking the rules.
Yeah. So.
This is a quick aside, but I had a Facebook friend today who had a poll, and they were asking, if you're a parent and you had to poll for your children, would you prefer to buy them marijuana or alcohol? Simple poll, right?
Interesting.
And marijuana was like, I mean, again, it's Facebook polls, so whatever.
Way up.
But it was like 80%. And he had a bet with a friend that he's like, I bet you any money that people I know would prefer their kid is stoned rather than drunk. And
really?
And I think there's some truth. Like I obviously know the social impression of marijuana has changed a lot over the years. Personally, as a parent, I would be much more comfortable with my son being high at a party than drunk. That's just,
how come? Like having, as a person who has never once been high, other than like when I took too much Gravol when I had food poisoning, if that counts.
Alcohol, there's a few reasons. I think alcohol seems to induce stupid decisions a lot more.
Oh, okay.
Like just certain things that are dangerous, right?
Yeah. So you do more risk-taking behavior under the influence of alcohol than you would.
I really feel like you do. I think with marijuana, you mostly just relax and hang out. Like it's not really, like you're not thinking, hey, I'm going to I don't know. Like it's hard.
I would like if it was me, I'd be like, why? If it was edibles, I'd be fine. But I don't think smoking.
Right.
Because it's going to stink up the whole house, and I'm asthmatic, and it's bad for their lungs and stuff. But I'm not thinking of the like high or drunk. I'm thinking of.
Of that.
All I can think of is a stand-up comedian I saw one time. He goes, you know what the difference between drinking and smoking drugs are? You won't have two pot smokers out in the parking lot fighting because they'll get out there and why are we here again? Do you got papers?
Oh, okay.
No,
and I don't know these things.
The other part of it is that alcohol kills way more people. When overdose or drinking and driving or all these things, the worst that'll happen if you have too much marijuana is you just get sick, and then you probably won't want to do it ever again. So
you'll green out and then puke.
Or you get that like thing chronic users get where like you have to be in a warm bath to feel good and stuff, but that's a really small percentage. But like they're starting to see that more in like emergency rooms, and I think is it just constant vomiting or constant stomach pain or something?
Yeah.
So that's a really interesting, weird one that doesn't affect lots of people, but just some people it does. But like the fix is you just stop for a bit and then it goes away and you're fine.
It goes away, right? And that's where the difference is, right? Like if alcohol can literally kill you, and I know people who've died from that stuff. Yeah. Like I think we all do, right? Yeah. So living in Saskatchewan. So,
like my father was an alcoholic for 20 years, like, and his father was as well, right? Like, and he died from it, whereas my dad thankfully got sober. But I mean, the same could be said for anything that anybody does to excess, right? Like you've got people that are hoarders and get crushed by their mountain of stuff, or any drug addict that overdoses.
I haven't heard of a single person who dies of marijuana related deaths. Like that's just the reality. Like it's basically a non-thing, and so that's Like it's not a statistic that exists. Like, and that's So that makes again. I don't want to like glorify marijuana and say it's the greatest thing ever, but at the very least, it's not going to kill you. Like that's all I'm saying. It's just it's the risk of dying from marijuana is basically nothing. So you would never be able to ingest enough marijuana to kill yourself. It would be impossible.
For like overdose reasons, you mean?
Yeah,
I see. Yeah, whereas alcohol, you can very easily do that.
You can do that. Yeah.
You could be really high and you could get sick, an upset stomach.
That's true. Yeah. Or you could puke
and
choke.
You could fall down some stairs, but you can do that with booze too, I suppose.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Or get in the car and whatever,
But I mean, it's again, like cause of death, marijuana related is not something you're going to find. Like it's just, I've looked for it. It's hard to.
It's from like making a stupid decision while you're drunk or high, like driving.
Yeah.
But again, that's the same for whatever substance you're.
But I don't even know if people typically die high in driving. Like not that you drive well, but you don't think you drive like you when you're drunk. It's a little different.
No?
Yeah, I think it's a different thing.
I don't want to claim that like outright, but I
still don't drive high.
We're not advocating.
I guess what I'm just saying the risk level is lower in general. In general, I think that's
for sure
the one thing I can conclude. But
all right,
anyway,
we're gonna skip Renee's story and move on to the new segment on hatred and violence.
What we're now seeing is a revival of hate, anger, fear, much of it encouraged by the rhetorical excesses of the leadership, which are stirring up passions, terror.
Yeah. My story is from the Southern Poverty Law Center, their site Hate Watch. Florida man killed 2 women at a yoga studio and spoke of the incel hero Elliot Rodger in an online video. The shooter, Scott Paul Beerley, was 40 years old and lived in Deltona, Florida, and died after shooting himself on Friday, November 2nd. He shot and killed 61-year-old Nancy Van Vessem and 21-year-old Maura Blinkley, and injured 5 others at the Hot Yoga Tallahassee studio. I don't know. I've got a few notes about this. Like, he had an online presence that was discovered by BuzzFeed, and he had videos like the plight of the adolescent male and the rebirth of misogynism. And he talked about Ellie Rodger, and he was a 40-year-old dude who was talking about the girls in his grade school class as though they were treacherous, and I don't know what he was getting at. But,
just like typical incel behavior, right?
But this is like a 40-year-old guy who is still holding on to this rage from adolescence, right?
Do you not know what incels are? That's kind of their thing. They really like to hold on to the reason I haven't gotten laid is because women are terrible. It has nothing to do with me or my personality.
Right.
But I won't sleep with you if you're fat. Right. I have my standards, but women aren't allowed to have standards for not sleeping with douchebags.
No, they clearly I don't know. There's a disconnect in reality for guys like this. But it's just in a sense, it's another one of these extremists who's grabbed onto an ideology that's just outrageous and turns him violent. I mean, maybe the spark was there in his head beforehand, but the ideology certainly didn't help.
Yeah. Well, and it goes back to, I think, just rape culture and toxic masculinity. It's because it says he talked about a virginity burden faced by adolescent males, and I do think that's a problem. Like, I remember so much of what rape culture is because men are taught that they to be of any worth, you have to have a girlfriend or get laid or at least get some action, right? So then there's that locker room talk of, I did this, I did that with a girl, or I grabbed her ass at the bar, or she met out with me when she was all of that kind of stuff, because you have this burden of to be of any value, you have to whatever. And then conversely, as a woman, to be of any value, you have to not do all of those things. So it's just like, why can't we just all agree that most people enjoy sex and contact with people?
It is kind of a weird contradiction.
Yeah. Like if you stop slut shaming, more women are likely to sleep with you, because maybe the reason they're not sleeping with you is because they don't want to be called a slut. But they would actually much prefer to get some themselves.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe not this guy in particular. I feel like he'd be one of those ones that, most women are aware of to stay away from and get bad vibes off. And that's what that incel community, right? They're blaming women.
Yeah.
But it's like, because we all have that radar of those guys that it's like you stay a mile away from.
Yeah.
And typically there's a reason, because they're super misogynistic, or they're leering at you and looking at you a little too intensely, or like they just give off rapey vibes because they feel they're entitled to have sex, not that you're
a human being who
earning your affections by being a good human being, right?
Something that I find odd, like I find it an odd disconnect, is the guy who can't get laid or doesn't know how to approach women and can't deal with women, slut shaming women who sleep with people who aren't them. Like it seems like a disconnect. Like
you should be all about sluts, man, because that's maybe the only way you look at it, right?
Right.
And someone's like, okay, fine.
You got a pulse?
Okay. Yeah, I need some loving. Sure, you'll do, right? Like,
really,
if women were allowed to do that, there would be maybe less of these people, but we're not allowed to do it. But yeah, it's all like a clusterfuck of contradictions.
There's so many weird societal pressures that exist.
Yeah,
but like, I wonder, like, what makes someone an incel? Because there's tons of guys out there that are, the nice guy, or like shy or whatever, just got no game with the ladies, and so many women when we're young and stupid go for the jockier types, or the ones that quote, the douchebags that quote got game.
I myself, I make the jokes that I couldn't get laid in a monkey whorehouse with a handful of bananas, but I'm not like
right. So what's like?
But I'm not like sitting there like getting a gun ready,
right? And that's what I wonder. Like, what is it that makes someone? Because like my husband's the same way. He was very shy, and and didn't know how to flirt in high school, like very couldn't. Yeah, but he's the sweetest, kindest, caring. Like he would never ever, right? And now his son is married to me, and that's fabulous, right? But what's the tipping point? Is it somebody that was already misogynistic, and then, or did they become misogynistic because they were sexually frustrated, or like what is it that tips the scales between
something that I recently did an interview with a guy who studies these groups to some and he was saying that there's usually older guys who are like influential thought leaders in these groups, and they know how to like manipulate emotions in these young men and stir up feelings of anger and frustration that they might not, if they aren't exposed to these particular thought leaders, they might never experience those things, or to the extreme that they do. They might, be misogynistic, and they might be angry, and they might blame women to some extent, but it never gets amplified. So I mean, from my perspective, I thought of that as a potential, like, okay, well, so that's a spot where maybe we can do something about this. Like, we can get in there and somehow stop, like, not necessarily stop the thought leaders who are amplifying the extremism, but perhaps influencing these young men in better ways.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know how exactly to do that, but it was something that occurred to me that maybe the end of the world won't be because of the incel uprising, because we can actually actually influence these people at a young age.
Yeah, we should definitely ask James Fell about his MRA and incel experience, because he gets a lot of it and has delved down that rabbit hole a lot. I find it fascinating that the same structures that feminists are trying to dismantle would also help these people, but yet they're so anti-feminist, right? Like that like I said, with the slut shaming and all of that, it's like a lot of this would be helped if we were all on equal footing and allowed to live our lives how we wanted.
Yeah.
And,
like I shared the meme on the Brainstorm Facebook page about Matt, the guy, toxic masculinity, shoots the dude on the chair or whatever, and it says feelings of self-worth and security, and blam, toxic masculinity shoots it, and then says, why did feminism do this?
Yeah.
It's clearly feminism's fault.
Yeah, but I fear that this is going to be a more. I mean, we had it in Toronto. The guy that drove the van into
Alec Manasseh.
I don't care to learn their names. They're assholes. I don't care what their names are. And the guy that they're all naming as their like quote unquote leader or whatever, like
the gentleman, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Blah,
now
whatever,
with the mainstream availability of the internet and like all of that, and people like Donald Trump in power and everything else spewing all of that kind of hatred stuff too. Is this going to be like, I mean, they already have mass shootings for racist reasons and whatever other reasons. Now it's going to be also, you can't go to yoga or you can't walk down, like you can't be in a group of women without fearing. I mean, we're fearing for our lives for a number of other reasons. I feel like this is just now another one, and it pisses me off.
Right, yeah. That was something that I was under the idea that this was relatively new as well.
Yeah.
But in 1989, Mark Le Pen
he killed
he separated the men and the women and killed the women. And
for sure. Yeah, there's always been like violent misogynists.
Yeah.
But their manifestos and their whatever weren't necessary. Because that one, I think, that was him, and he was a deeply disturbed individual and definitely had some fucked up views. But then that didn't spiral and blossom into a whole cult following of incels necessarily. I think they were more isolated because there was no internet availability to connect with all of that, right? Like, I don't know, if it's going to get where, and things were a little, you didn't have, well, I don't know, there was always misogyny in the media and stuff, but it wasn't as like blatant and violent, and
there was, well, I mean, and this is I got a bit of a rant coming up here, but it is something to look into the viewpoint of the media and the way that the narrative that they portray, because it may have been that there was a time when women were kind of just considered dismissible, right, on in the media, but now it's like feminists are an enemy.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah.
So I think the narrative has changed.
Yeah, there's this uprising because there's now an enemy that they need to. Yeah, that's who's ruining your life and making it you can't get laid or whatever. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess that sounds like that's good enough for the hatred and violence. All right.
Before we go,
yes.
Can I just quickly fact check myself here?
You bet.
I was just go back onto this marijuana related deaths thing.
Okay.
Definitely no overdoses. Okay, for sure.
Okay.
And then the amount of people who actually die from marijuana related vehicle accidents is pretty negligible. According to this study I was reading in Canada.
Okay.
So I can't remember the exact amounts. They said there was something like 800 marijuana related deaths, but like 75% of them were attributed to lung cancer. So
yeah, so it's the smoking that's
it's the smoking,
right.
Not so much the marijuana.
THC,
so. Anyway, there's more to it than that, but I just wanted to say that quick because there are some people who die from marijuana related vehicle accidents. But it's also sounds like there's also some co-using going on there too. So
exactly.
Anyway, but it's not. It's pretty negligible.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how that changes if marijuana use becomes more mainstream, right? Like, there's so much alcohol just everywhere that it's like everybody does it, and it's like the thing that everybody goes out and does, and it's seen as this safe and innocuous, fun thing when like no, there's. It's, as you said, numerous deaths, addiction, all of that, overdose, all that kind of thing. at least, you don't have the overdose factor on it. But yeah, I'm curious to see if there'll be more high driving once everyone and their dog is doing that instead of drinking now.
There might be, right? So
I'm just curious. I'm not saying that's...
For now, I think that we can say that the risk factor is lower, but it's still...
Is it because of percentage of the population that's doing one versus the other?
Yeah. All right.
Anyways.
Let's cue the outro music. For all the things, you can check out the show notes at our website, brainstormblog.net, or on our hosting page at thebrainstormpodcast.com. Thanks to our financial supporters, Kayla, Janet, Kim, Stephanie, Zach, the Utah Outcasts, Will, Aaron, Daryl, Destin Sucks, Bob Glenn, Destin Doesn't Suck That Much, Magnus, several species of small furry animals gathered together in a cave, Positively Skeptical, Rob, the Podunk Polymath, the Flying Spaghetti Monster, Sauce Be Upon Him, Freethinker215, and Larry. If you want to join them and help the show grow, then you can do that at patreon.com/brainstormpodcast, or go buy some stuff at tpublic.com/stores/brainstorm-podcast-gear. Join us every 2 weeks on brainstormradio.net. Our next live show is on November 23rd, and our guest is going to be Dr. Jen Gunter, wielder of the Lasso of Truth. That'll be cool. I want to give a big thanks to Coven for joining us. You can find more of her stuff at facebook.com/ksynapathy. So make sure to check that out. I want to thank my panel, Sarah.
Hello.
Renee. Hello. And Dave.
Yep.
Thanks, Dave, for our intro music. Thanks to Aaron Rabbi from Embrace the Void for doing the voiceover for our intro. You can find his stuff at voidpod.com. Thanks to Alex Capper-Murdoch for our voiceover for our ads, and thanks to Jason Como for our outro music. You can find his stuff at aloststateofmind.com. All music played is either with permission or under the SOCAN license to play. For more information on SOCAN, you can check out the music license info page on our website, brainstormblog.net. Make sure to tune in to brainstormafterhours.com for the bonus content before it goes patron only. Remember to give us a rating, a thumbs up, or a fave on your podcatcher of choice. Join our Facebook group, like our page, follow us on Twitter, subscribe to our subreddit, sign up on it for the newsletter, share the show, and spread the word. The more you share, comment, and like our stuff, the more it helps the show grow. Thanks for listening, and remember, the truth matters.
This is an opinion-based podcast. Each person on the podcast is responsible for their own opinions, and those opinions don't necessarily reflect the views of the rest of the panel, any guests, or anyone associated with the people on the podcast, such as spouses, partners, children, other family members, friends, or employers. No one person speaks for the podcast with the possible exception of Cory, and he doesn't speak for anyone else on the show. The Brainstorm podcast does not represent the views of our sponsors.